and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and I wanted to welcome all of you to another installment of Monologue Monday here on my YouTube channel. Monologue Monday. As you can see, we are again in a different location other than my usual dark and messy office, so I do hope you guys appreciate the change in scenery. With all of that being said, let's get into this episode of Monologue Monday. So this episode of Monologue Monday is all about determining if you are an individual who might want to consider a early retirement like I am myself. So the main reason that I kind of had this idea for this episode of Monologue Monday was that I myself was questioning why I was kind of chasing an early retirement, a kind of an early escape from the usual 9 to 5, working 40 hours, 50 hours, whatever it may be. And I had to really sit down and I wanted to think about it. And what I came up with is essentially that, everybody probably has their own reasons. And it just so happens that for me, my personal reasons are that I just kind of want that escape, right? I've learned a lot in the last, couple of years. But one of the main things is that life is really, really, really short, despite the fact that the life expectancy of individuals tends to go up, has been going up for, decades, I think, at this point, and it probably that trend will continue. I don't necessarily want to be working for that much of it, right? In my case, I want to ideally, only spend about half of my life working, and then I want to enjoy the other half in full, doing exactly what I want to do. Obviously limited, right? Just because you want a yacht doesn't necessarily you're going to be able to buy a yacht, but as far as hobbies and aspirations and enjoying time with family and friends, that's something that I want to pursue. And if that means sacrificing a lot right now to get that's okay with me. So that is kind of my my personal opinion on why I want to pursue early retirement. But this video is really about if you should, and I'm going to go over a couple of points as to kind of yes or no questions. So if you do answer yes to these questions, it is likely that, in my personal opinion at least, considering a early retirement and taking the steps that need to be taken in order for you to get there is something that you should definitely consider. So one of the first questions that I think many of you should ask yourself to determine if pursuing a early retirement and taking the steps that need to be taken in order to achieve it is, do you have hobbies? And this question is pretty self-explanatory, right? Do you have things in your life other than the essentials, right? Going to work, making some food for yourself, and seeing family and friends on occasion or on the weekend, whatever it is. Do you have other things going on that you enjoy? A perfect example for me is that within the last 3 years or so, I became pretty much obsessed with playing tennis, and I got really, really good at it. Just completely immersed myself in it, and it is a big part of my life right now, where if I don't get to play during the week, I don't feel good, right? It doesn't feel like a normal week. I get upset, whatever it is. Another example would be, what I'm doing right now, which is creating these types of videos, learning how cameras work, learning how audio works, learning how to set up audio in, a remote spot, this kind of hobby, right? This is something that I picked up in the last year or so, and it's something that I really, really like to do. I don't know what I would be doing right now if I didn't have this. And, the list can go on and on and on. But the question is that the question that I think a lot of people should ask themselves are, do I have hobbies that I want to pursue more than what I am now, right? More than that once a week, on the weekends, more than that, every other Sunday or whatever it is. If you do have these types of hobbies that you would trade out for your day job, and as in, if you could get paid to do your hobbies, would you take that to get paid the same amount of money? Would you take that switch? And if the answer is yes, then you probably have some pretty good hobbies, or it might just be one hobby. But the point here is that if you do have these other things going on in your life that you really want to put more time in, then potentially chasing and taking the steps that you need to take in order to achieve a early retirement are probably something that you should consider. One of the other questions I think is very relevant is kind of what I mentioned for myself in the introduction portion of this video is, do you want to be done with the routine, right? The waking up at 7, driving to work half an hour, you work for 8 hours, hang out with your coworkers, have lunch, you go home, you make dinner, maybe you watch a show on Netflix, and you go to bed and get ready to do it the next day, and you do that 5 days a week. Forever. Well, not forever necessarily, right? But a very long time. And if the answer is yes to wanting to kind of get away from this, then that's another telltale sign that perhaps, taking the steps to pursue a earlier retirement is the right thing for you. I know there are a lot of individuals who may not function well if they didn't have this kind of rhythm. And this is something that I think we see quite a bit with people when they retire, is that they just lose, because their job was their hobby, their kind of identity. When they stop working, they let themselves go, and it's a slow decline until the very end. And although that is a sad thing, if you do rely on your job to have that sort of routine in your life, if that's what's going to keep you going, then maybe getting out of the workforce early isn't the best thing for you. But if you are on the fence, similar to me, where the routine is nice, but you could maybe be productive in other ways without it, then pursuing a early retirement might be something to consider. I think one of the last questions that I'll kind of go over in this episode of Monologue Monday is probably the most important, but I think it's one of them that I definitely wanted to mention, and that, of course, is, what do you want to do in your life? How much do you want to do in life? What type of experiences, and how many of these experiences do you want to have before you ultimately kick it, right? There's no going about it. We're all here right now. If you're watching this, if you're paying attention to this channel, if you're watching these videos, you are here, but that's not going to last forever, right? I'm not going to last forever behind this camera, in front of this camera rather, either. And I think acknowledging that really puts into perspective of what do you want to do from now until the time that you are no longer here. And I've heard a lot of, these are conversations that I've had quite a bit, and I hear a lot of different answers. Some people have a list that is perennial, right? They have, Santa's Christmas list, but instead of names of kids, sounded a bit weird, but instead of a huge list like that, it's a huge bucket list of all these different places they want to go to, all these countries they want to go to, all these places they want to see, experiences that they want to have. And in order to do those things, I think, getting ahead of your finances and trying to get out of the workforce early is actually sometimes an essential thing, because there are certain experiences that you can't do in old age, right? You can't do certain things at the age of 70, generally speaking. A lot of things need to be done within that 30 to 40, 30 to 50 year old range. But there's also people who maybe their list isn't too extravagant, right? It's not too extensive, where they want a house, they want a family, they want a solid group of friends, a solid sense of community, and they'll take, when the time comes, they'll take a few excursion trips, and that's a good life, right? That's a good life for them. There's no, this question, they're all rhetorical, but this one too, there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what you want out of life, right? That's the main point of this question, is what do you want, right? And generally speaking, I feel like if you want a lot, right? If you want a lot of experiences and you really want to see what this world has to offer, getting on a solid financial track and trying to getting out of the workforce as early as possible is going to allow you to have time on your side in order to, take on all of these different endeavors, whether that's, going to all of these different countries, or being abroad for a month, or, everybody's got something different. But generally speaking, if you do answer yes to wanting to do a lot in your life, I think pursuing, or at least getting on the track to pursue a earlier retirement, is something that you might want to consider. And I think this intuitively makes sense, because if you don't have too many things on your list, right? If you don't need time and money, you don't need that much money to do certain things, then yeah, maybe staying in the workforce for longer and kind of being a little bit more frivolous with your money right now is something that you can afford to do. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what kind of plan that you want to be on for your life, right? And it is your life. You shouldn't let anybody else kind of tell you how to live it. But I think the questions that I've kind of gone over in this episode are ones that you should definitely ask yourself, and maybe even ask, your partner or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, at the same time, to kind of get on the same page as to what you guys should be doing on your own personal financial journey. So there you have it. Those are just a few questions that I think you should ask yourself to determine if you should be pursuing a early retirement. But of course, I want to hear from the viewers as well. What do you guys think about my 3 questions here that I think are relevant to ask yourself to determine if pursuing or potentially pursuing a early retirement is a good decision for you? Are there any other questions that you guys think might be relevant to ask yourself? Please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you've made it this far in the video, I do want to thank you so much for tuning in. It really does mean a lot. As always, I hope you were able to take something away from this video, and as always, happy financing.